Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to Reelfoot Lake and a virtual program about our bird of prey program at Reelfoot Lake. My name is David. I'm now the regional naturalist for Tennessee State Parks. I started out as a naturalist here at Reelfoot Lake back in 1986, and one of the first programs that I developed after I started here at the park was a bird of prey environmental education program utilizing non-releasable birds of prey to help people understand more about the birds, their role in the environment, and to promote Reelfoot Lake and all the great things here. Now, the reason I chose to bring with me today Cypress, who's our great horned owl, was the first bird we started with in the fall of 1986 as an education bird, was a great horned owl. Of course, that bird is no longer with us. Average lifespan of a great horned owl is in the 20s, but many times, most of the time, when we get in an injured bird, we have no idea how old it is, and they come in with other problems because they're injured and non-releasable. So we started the program here at Reelfoot with a small cage, actually behind my house at the time, with a great horned owl, and it was very, very well received. People love seeing the birds, learning about them, and just another way to experience our natural world. As the program grew, we eventually got a red-tailed hawk and built a second cage. And then after a few years, we decided that we would really expand the program, and we got funding, mainly grant-related funding, to build cages called an aviary at our main visitor center. And one of the first big ones we built was for the purpose of getting a non-releasable bald eagle, because Reelfoot Lake is known for its bald eagles. And so we developed the program, we got our first eagle, the program has grown. We now have multiple cages at the visitor center. We have housed 3 eagles at this time, 2 great horned owls, 2 barred owls, 2 red-tailed hawks. Over the years, we've had a variety of other birds that have come into the program as non-releasable birds. We also enhanced the program to become a rehab program. We started out rehabbing lots of different animals, baby animals, injured animals, and we quickly learned that we did not have personnel or resources to take in everything that somebody needed us to take. We were just overwhelmed. So we decided to concentrate on the birds, and specifically on the birds of prey. So our goal with the rehab program is to give these birds a second chance to get in a baby that's fallen out of the nest, a bird that's been hit by a car or injured in another way, to raise the babies where they can go back out into the wild, or to treat the injured birds with access to a vet. The vet does the main treatment, the surgery, whatever's required, and then we try to get them ready, rehab, just like a person going through rehab to go back out into the wild. So that is our number one goal of the rehab program, is to give the birds a second chance. And roughly half the birds that come in injured or babies get a second chance and go back out into the wild. Some of them don't make it. The injuries are too severe. Some things just can't survive. And then others that we say we already have a great horned owl, or 2 great horned owls like we have now, we get in a new bird that can't be released, we'll pass it on to another park that has a education program, or maybe even another agency that has a environmental education program. So the birds have become ambassadors for our natural world for people to see and learn about. And just over my career, it's been truly amazing to see how most of these birds have responded to changes of the laws to protect them, better protection, to changes in attitude. You know, when we started these programs 35 years ago, typically a lot of people that saw these birds, their first response was to shoot at them or to kill them, because they are predators, they are killers, and they are very, very, very good at it. One of the nicknames of the great horned owl is Tiger of the Sky, and they literally eat anything smaller than they are, and some people have a problem with that, but that's nature's role. It's what they're supposed to do. That's their job in nature, is to control other animal populations, and then there are some things that they occasionally become food for. So the Reelfoot program has been very, very successful. It has had a lot of birds come in injured that's got a second chance into the wild, and it has literally let hundreds of thousands of people get an up-close personal view of these magnificent birds, to learn more about them, to learn more about our natural world, and hopefully as we take these birds to other places, to inspire them to come and visit us at Reelfoot Lake. So if you've never been to Reelfoot Lake State Park, we now are in the process of reopening the parks where we've been closed for the COVID-19. So make a visit by, come by and see the birds as we begin to get back into programming. Join us for one of our programs where you really see and get up close and personal and really learn about these magnificent creatures. So thanks for joining with us. Raylyn, if you'll walk in and get a really close view of our great horned owl, show those eyes, show the look, show the attitude. He is a spectacular creature. Today we brought out Shadow. Shadow is one of our non-releasable barred owls, B-A-R-R-E-D, barred. The barn owl, B-A-R-N, is a totally different type of owl. Shadow has now been with us for about 6 years. Here at Reelfoot, we do both environmental education with birds that cannot be released because of an injury, as well as rehabilitation for birds that need a second chance to go back out into the wild. So Shadow's been with us a while, and people love Shadow. The barred owl is literally the teddy bear of the owl world. They get very used to people. They let you get up close. They have the big dark eyes, the rounded head, and they are the classic hoot owl. They're the most vocal of all the owls. And if you come here to Reelfoot Lake and get out right at dark or right at sunrise, sunset, you will hear them calling. They are very, very, very common at Reelfoot. On a drive around the lake, any of the wildlife drives, any of the trails, early morning, late afternoon, there's a very, very, very good chance of seeing a barred owl. Barred owls actually prefer to live around the water, where our other owl species found in Tennessee typically prefer more drier areas. In fact, one of Shadow's favorite foods here at Reelfoot is also one of my favorite foods, especially when I go south to the Gulf, especially to New Orleans. Crayfish. Love crayfish. And when you find a crayfish, when you find a barred owl nest or barred owl roost, you always find a lot of remains of crayfish. They also actually catch a lot of fish. It's not uncommon late in the afternoon when I'm fishing on the lake, I will hear a barred owl and then I'll start looking and I will find it and see it. And then I've seen numerous times over the years the barred owl come down and grab a fish out of the water, typically hand size or smaller. This bird is not near as big as you think by looking at it. A Shadow only weighs about a pound. Of course, the body is covered with feathers. Feathers don't weigh very much. Very lean muscles. Of course, owls have hollow bones. Birds have hollow bones as opposed to solid bones. So they don't weigh very much. They actually don't fly very fast. It's not a good idea to fly 100 miles an hour through the woods in the dark. So they kind of ghost along like a big moth or butterfly, looking and listening for their food or for danger. They actually are very good at hunting by hearing as well as by sight. They will pretty much eat anything smaller than they are, and that's true of most birds of prey. They're pretty opportunistic. There are some exceptions. There are some birds of prey that are very specific on their food, but barred owls and most owls are very general. They eat anything smaller than they can catch. So most of Shadow's food would be things that weigh less than a pound and things that are found around water. Now they will take mice and rats and maybe a squirrel, even a half-grown rabbit. So they're pretty opportunistic, especially when they have babies in the nest. You know, if you have 4 babies in the nest screaming for food, you're not too picky on what you take in to feed your babies. Whatever you can find goes to feed them. And we're now in mid to late April, and actually the baby barred owls are just now getting big enough to leave the nest. We have numerous nests here around the lake. I know where a few of them are, but this is what we call baby season. In the rehab world, where you're rehabbing injured birds of prey, March and April and May are always when you get in babies. Most of the time, they don't really fall out of the nest. Something that we see very often is what we call branching. They come out of the nest just before they're able to fly, exercise their wings, jump around, sometimes get on the ground, and their parents keep right on feeding them. They literally only need a couple of days. A question we commonly get, in fact, I've had a couple in the last 2 weeks where people have found almost grown owls on the ground. Say the best thing you can do is take a big basket, fill it full of half full of leaves, and put it back in the tree near where you found it. For the owl to stay in the basket for another couple of days, the parents will keep right on feeding it. It's always much better if the parents raise the birds than if we raise the bird. Now, if there's an injury, they have an obvious wing injury or leg injury, then they need to go to the vet and need to go to a rehabber and actually get treatment. But literally, if they've just climbed out on a branch, it's always much better to let the parents feed them. Many, many people over the years have been introduced to our natural world and actually the nighttime birds of prey by the barred owls here at Reelfoot. Shadow is a long line of education birds we've had here at Reelfoot, but people always love to see, learn about, and hear the barred owls. So as we open our state parks back up from this COVID-19, come out and visit our state parks. About a third of our state parks have a bird of prey environmental education program. Come to Reelfoot, see the birds, take a tour with us, get out on the lake, but visit your local state park. Enjoy and experience all the things we have to offer. And this time we brought out Silverado. Silverado is one of my favorite birds. He's been with me now for about 11 years, and Silverado is our red-tailed hawk. Red-tailed hawks are the most common big bird of prey found in this part of the country. They're the bird that everyone has seen sitting on power lines, phone poles, fence posts, hay bales, soaring around over the fields, flying through the woods, setting in your backyard. Very, very common. They are one of the birds that was never endangered. They're very adaptable. They live everywhere, eat everything. So I'm gonna turn Silverado around where you can see where he gets his classic name, the red tail. I'm gonna lead him to spread his wings from the back where you can really see that beautiful red tail. It takes red tails a year and a half to get the red tail. So the young red tails just have a brown tail. They're fairly fast flyers. They can do roughly 50 miles an hour on level flight. They're very opportunistic feeders, but we say primarily they take reptiles and rodents. Reptiles being primarily snakes. Of course, they will take a lizard, but we're not talking about turtles or alligators. So snakes and lizards and rodents. Of course, when we say rodents, most people immediately think mice and rats, which is their primary food source. But sometimes most people forget that rodents also, we have some cute rodents, which the cute rodents for most people would be the bunny rabbits and squirrels. So they are fairly opportunistic feeders. Redtails are not big bird eaters. We have some other species of hawks that specialize in catching other birds. Now, I'm not going to say a redtail won't ever catch another bird, but that's not their primary food source. And here at Reelfoot, in the wintertime, we will occasionally see a redtail even catch a duck, which would be roughly the same size as a redtail. Most birds of prey are not near as heavy as most people think by looking at them. Silverado only weighs in at about 1.5 pounds, even though he is a large, handsome bird. And this is a male. Male and female in most birds of prey are colored the same. Females are typically a little bigger. Average lifespan would be in the 20s in the wild. In captivity, they can live a little longer depending on their injury when you get them. Very, very fantastic eyesight. Everyone has heard the term hawk eye. You know, they say a bird like this can probably see a rabbit running across a freshly mowed hayfield at close to 1 mile away. So unbelievable eyesight and ability to survive. Something that I find interesting is redtail comes in a variety of colors. This is your classic redtail coloration. We had one, I've had several, I've been doing this with state parks for almost 35 years now. So over the time, we've had a lot of different birds come through our rehab and environmental education center. 3 of my favorite redtails that I've ever had come in, 2 of them didn't survive. We had one come in that was called leucistic, which was kind of a gray, cream, white with 3 red tail feathers. He had black eyes and he had creamy white toenails, not an albino. We had another one come in that was literally silver. Just a beautiful, beautiful bird. Unfortunately, both of those birds had been hit by cars and their injuries were too severe. They did not survive. We also had one with us for a couple of years before it passed away that was solid black, called a Melanistic Red Tail. Just a truly, truly gorgeous bird. And in fact, in West Tennessee, here around Reelfoot Lake this winter, I'm friends with a lot of bird watchers. We have had a couple of black ones, and we've had a couple of leucistic red tails, all using Northwest Tennessee this winter, which is fairly common. Once again, a very, very common bird. If you pay attention when you're traveling, you'll see a red tail. They'll be sitting there looking at you. Some people don't like them because they are the chicken hawk of fame and legend. You know, when Grandma was raising chickens and a big bird of prey flew across that was big enough to eat her chickens, she called it a chicken hawk. All of them will eat chickens. You know, chickens are pretty tasty. I guarantee some of you have had chicken today. Not to upset anyone, but chickens are not very smart compared to wild food. And when they're running around loose, they are food for lots of things, including us, including the red-tailed hawks. But that's not a primary food source. But sometimes these birds do get in trouble for taking someone's chickens. But when you watch them, when you get up close and personal, we're going to get a really up close and personal view of Silverado. Look at those big, beautiful eyes staring into the camera lens. He said, I'm seeing my reflection in the camera lens, beginning to show some defensive behavior. All the different colors on the side, on the chest, of course on the back with the red tail. A very, very gorgeous bird and a very, very special part of our natural world. One of the things that Reelfoot Lake is known for is its bald eagles. Bald eagles have always migrated to Reelfoot. It's one of the best places in this part of the country to come and see bald eagles. And Reelfoot Lake has actually been doing eagle tours to take people out and see bald eagles since the 1970s. When I started here in 1986, one of the programs we started was a bird of prey program. And one of the things I wanted to get to utilize for bird programs was a bald eagle. At that time, bald eagles were still on the endangered species list. It's a little more complicated than it is today, but we managed to do that. And we've been doing bird of prey programs here to promote Reelfoot Lake and our natural world and the bald eagles for a long time. But today I want to introduce you to Storm. Storm is a non-releasable bald eagle. A female, her left wing was badly broken in a storm when her nest tree actually blew over. She was on the ground, was injured at the elbow. She stayed at the vet for about 4 months. He did multiple surgeries. He was not able to repair the wing where she could fly, so she has never flown. So when Storm was determined to be non-releasable, we got her back here at Reelfoot to be one of our primary education birds, to let people see and learn about the eagles, the lake, and our natural world. So the storm that injured Storm was in 2014. So Storm just turned 6 years old. So for most of her time with us here at Reelfoot, she has been solid brown. It's only been in the past year and a half that her colors had changed to the adult plumage, the white head and the white tail. And if you look closely at Storm's head, you can still see the brown and black feathers mixed in with the white. So she is not a creamy white yet. In the wild, this would probably be her first year to choose a mate and lay eggs and have babies, possibly her second year. Typically between 5 and 6 years old is when they will start to mate, but sometimes even longer than that. Storm is an average size female. She weighs in at about 11 pounds, which is not near as heavy as most people expect by looking at her. An average male only weighs 8 or 9 pounds. Male and females both have the same coloration as adults, the white head and white tail. Both of them are solid brown as juvenile birds. Bald eagles come to Reelfoot Lake in large numbers because they are fishermen. And Reelfoot Lake provides a tremendous amount of fish and undisturbed habitat for the eagles to hang out in. When I started here at Reelfoot Lake in 1986, there were 0 bald eagles nesting here at the lake. We had migratory birds in the winter, but no eagles stayed here to make this their home and produce babies. We actually had our first re-nest. We had nests here in the 40s and 50s before DDT, but our first re-nest here at Reelfoot was actually in 1987 with 1 nest. By the early 90s, we had about a dozen nests. This year in the Reelfoot Lake area, it looks like we will have in the neighborhood of 40 bald eagle nests. Now, not all of those nests are successful. Each year, some of the nests that we observe, the parents go on the nest, look like they're incubating eggs, and then nothing happens. Sometimes we don't know whether the eggs didn't hatch or whether the eggs got broken, or sometimes even if the eggs may have hatched and then something happened to the babies soon after hatching. So we really keep a close watch on our eagles here at Reelfoot. We're checking the nest, checking the area, taking people out to see them. It's a great place to photograph them. Reelfoot is a great place to bring your camera as long as you have what I always call a real camera. You know, you can't take this cell phone out and do very good eagle photography. But if you've got a 400 plus lens on your camera, zoom lens, Reelfoot is a great place to photograph eagles as well as all kinds of other birds and lots of other stuff. But Storm is a great ambassador for us here at the park. She travels, her and I travel across the state and over the years across the Southeast to promote Tennessee State Parks, to promote Reelfoot Lake, and just to teach people about these magnificent birds. I mean, of course, the bald eagle is our national symbol of all that's wild and free, a great symbol of the Native Americans. She usually hangs out pretty good here on my arm. Just to kind of show her injury, I'm gonna roll my arm and we'll see if she'll spread her wing just a little bit. She usually does. Come on, show off. She likes to talk. She'll yell at me. So you can see the one wing extends, and then the other wing is literally locked at the elbow. It is there. It did not have to be amputated. It just doesn't move because of the severity of the injury. Storm seems to be pretty content. She definitely talks to me. We feed her real well. One of the common questions we get is, what do we feed our captive birds? And since we are here at Reelfoot Lake, and it is such a great fishing lake, this time of year, they are getting almost entirely free fish. In fact, I went fishing yesterday afternoon, and the fish that I didn't want to clean came in to feed the eagles. We also feed them other types of meat. They don't eat just fish, they eat a variety of stuff. So we try to keep their food as natural as possible. If you've never been to Reelfoot, or even if you haven't been in a while, come and visit us. Come by the visitor center, see Storm, and she actually has 2 guys in the cage with her. We're hoping one day they may choose to have young. They have not chosen to mate in captivity yet, but we've got our fingers crossed. But you can come by the center, see the birds, walk out behind the lake, behind the visitor center on the boardwalk. If you get out and drive around, we can show you on a map where some of the eagle nests are. You can see them on your own. If you really want to see a lot of eagles, you come in the winter, January and February. On a typical good cold winter, Reelfoot will have over 200 eagles to spend the winter, and people come here from all across the Southeast to see the lake, to see the snow geese, to see the beauty, and especially to see our bald eagles. So thanks for spending a few minutes with me, getting a little bit of information about Storm. And when you get a chance, come out and visit us at Reelfoot Lake or any of our other 56 state parks. Have a great day.